Hello and good evening. This is Jared Taney, and that is
Adam Fuller.
yeah.
That didn't sound very exciting when you said that. Hello.
I was trying a little different. I was trying to be more like Alfred Hitchcock or something, but I guess that didn't work. So, hi everybody. Welcome back to Kvetching with Adam and Jared. Yeah, this is Adam and Jared who are about to kvetch.
I'm Adam.
Yeah.
You're Jared.
Yeah, I think our fans know that already. Thank you to those who tuned into Nialech's podcast, which was not our previous one, but the one before that. Our previous one was a really good one about Jews and sports, something made famous by the movie Airplane. We discussed Airplane for a few minutes, I think, but it's really timely with everything going on about the war and people's attempts to exclude Israel from everything. Including the world of sports. So Adam and I, who know nothing about sports.
Wait, speak for yourself. I know something about sports.
I know nothing about sport except for hockey.
I know about baseball.
Okay.
I know quite a lot about baseball.
We don't talk about baseball, though.
That's true. We don't. We talk about sports I don't know anything about.
Yeah.
We talk about football, we talk about basketball, and we talk about the Olympics. Is the Olympics even sports?
Well, I think it's a collection of sports.
Okay.
So I guess I know something about Olympics hockey because whenever Team Canada makes it, I tune in sometimes. I remember that one time when Team Canada made the finals, I was living in Montreal. I actually decided to go to the gym during it. I was the only person in the entire place.
It's a good time to go.
But everyone said to me, "How could you not watch your team?" And they had a point. I mean, I should have been watching that as a semi-hockey fan. All right, we've got some interesting stuff tonight. It's mostly responses to our podcast.
Because you mentioned our fans before, but not everybody that watches our podcast are our fans. Like we do, we have people tuning into our podcast that really don't like us at all. And so some of them have left negative comments, very nasty comments, at least some of them, on a few of our comment sections. In particular, the video of our interview, our discussion with Nialech, and then one with Peter Herman also had a few different negative reactions. So we're going to go
biblical. I haven't looked up the quotes where they come from.
All of them are biblical, yeah. So we're going to go over these negative responses to our podcasts.
Yeah, I don't think the twerp has responded, but he could be anonymous for all I know. But I did learn when I wrote my first op-ed years ago, never respond to the negative comments on that page, ever. You're not supposed to engage with them, but we're going to engage with them this way. And you want to come attack us? By all means, we will.
And if you want your comments, your negative comments to appear on the podcast, all you need to do is write them into our comments section, and we will produce an episode responding to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are Team Israel. Just remember that. We're to your dual loyalty flag.
I took it down, but I should put it back up.
I'm going to subject you to a litmus test for that. Before we begin with that, though, there was this article in the New Yorker. We're not going to go through the whole thing. I just want to address the opening sentence because it's absurd. So let's turn on screen share and get ourselves started here. Okay. This is about Jewish identity with and without Zionism, blah, 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 blah. Okay, whatever. It's just the phrasing of this opening sentence that just deserves comment. Although the prospect seems scarcely imaginable now, there was a time, not very long ago, when American Jews were free to have no particular thoughts or feelings about Israel.
How has that changed?
I have no idea, but I don't walk around to every Jew that I know and says, "What do you think about Israel? What do you think about Israel? What do you think about Israel?" I don't subject them to litmus tests.
The American Jewish community is more divided on Israel today than ever before.
But I think the author might be implying you have to either be in the Zionist or the anti-Zionist camp. And if you're in the anti-Zionist camp, you're excommunicated. You can't, the way that first sentence reads is you can't just walk around and be a non-Zionist, which is totally.
Go on Twitter and there's Reform rabbis dedicated to anti-Zionism constantly posting their anti-Zionist ideas on social media all the time, every day.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's anti-Zionism. What about non-Zionism? I know plenty of Jews.
What's non-Zionism? What's the
that
difference?
have no particular thoughts about Israel, it's like, yeah, I recognize it's the Jewish state, and guess I'm kind of happy for my people for having done it. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to go there, and I don't really want to comment on the war. But it obviously bothers me that 1,400 Jews were killed. So that's not really Zionism. It's not really a belief that Jews need a state in their ancestral homeland. And that's very common, especially from our generation, Gen X, because a lot of people from our generation were raised in households, people who grew up in who were the parents born in the 1940s, when Israel really wasn't a big part of American Jewish identity yet. And unless you went to a Jewish day school and sent your kids to a Jewish day school, you weren't necessarily going to get much Zionism. I think the Holocaust had much greater relevance to American Jews as a whole than Israel did. I'm not saying that it didn't come to have great relevance for a large percentage. There was a consensus on Zionism for a while, but there are a hell of a lot of Jews who are just kind of out of the fold and don't really, they're Jews by descent. Maybe they go to synagogue, maybe they don't. Maybe they just do Hanukkah parties and Passovers. They're Jews, and they don't have many thoughts about the state of Israel. They have some feelings.
I guess this is a thing, but I don't really encounter it very often. It's a non-political attitude. It's an ambivalence that to me is just is stupid and very difficult to wrap my mind around. But I guess you're right; it probably does exist.
Well, if you have trouble if you think it's stupid, then you sort of agree with this opening sentence here, right? Because the author's saying to have no particular thoughts about Israel. Maybe it's just a badly worded sentence, because then he starts going on about Philip Roth and stuff like that, and it's not as if Philip Roth didn't express opinions about Zionism.
It'll also help if he said what time that was, like what obviously this is not the case before our generation.
Yeah.
Where every Jewish institution you walked into, had one of these, in there.
Yeah.
But I guess in our generation, I guess this ambivalence might have been more common. Yeah.
I would say now it's not ambivalence at all. I think now, because anti-Zionism is so pervasive, they want to blame Zionism for this, but I think it's really the anti-Zionists who are subjecting Jews to litmus tests on campus to the point where...
Is this non-Zionism that you're saying was prevalent in our era, what this guy is talking about?
I have no idea, and I'm not reading his review. I have no intention of it. But this is just, my point here is to diss the New Yorker and the idiot who's writing about this, because it's 100% false, right?
Well, the New Yorker is not exactly a bastion of Zionist writing. I mean,
it should not be a bastion of idiocy. I mean, the authors they've rejected everything I've submitted to them.
There's all kinds of idiocy in that publication.
I mean,
the only thing I like about the New Yorker is the cartoons. I used to subscribe to the New Yorker just for the cartoons.
Well, Elaine drew one on Seinfeld, if you recall.
That's right.
Yeah. It was like Gossamer. You weren't supposed to dissect them.
I used to submit in their caption to their caption contest all the time. They've got that weekly caption contest, and I used to submit what I thought were really funny captions. One time, and I never won, but one time there was a caption that did win that was very similar to mine that I sent in.
And
I think they only read a random sample of the submissions or something. I don't know.
It is possible. I have no idea. I don't know what goes on the other side.
The Addams Family started with the New Yorker.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, it was originally a cartoon strip in the New Yorker. Yeah.
I know nothing of its history. And I get all these New York magazines confusing. They're confused all the time. The New Yorker, the New York Review of Books, the New York Times Magazine, it just gets very confusing.
That I was in the New York Times Magazine, or the New York Magazine a couple of weeks ago.
The New York Magazine, not the New York
Times Magazine. Yeah, that's not the same thing.
Okay, so that's NY Mag, right? Is that
NY Mag, yeah.
Why were you in it?
Well, there was an article by David Friedlander that was all about people that who are academics or public intellectuals who do not think that a re-election of Donald Trump would usher in, the end of American democracy. So I guess he scoured the country trying to find university professors that don't think that Trump's re-election would mean, the reorganization of the American Republic into some sort of galactic empire. And he came up with me.
Well, there are only about 3 or 4 of you, so yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, there weren't many, right? So he found us and he interviewed me, and I ended up in that article. And I've received a little bit of hate mail over the past few weeks.
For being quoted in an article?
No, for a couple of the things that I said in the interview. Yeah.
I should read it, but you haven't read my writings yet, so not all of them. Let's go to our comments then. We are finished with this. We probably gave this stupid thing more time than it deserved. But in any case, for those of you who want to write to the New Yorker, this is the way to do it. Write bad sentences that are very provocative, but have no grounding in reality. Okay, let's go to these comments on oh, I turned off screen sharing. Whoops, I pushed the wrong button. I will turn screen share back on. It's okay. There we go.
We're still a technologically advancing Jewish production.
We are, even if we okay, yeah, we're okay. This is I see myself twice now. Now I'm getting confused. This is like,
this is us from a few weeks
this
back.
is like that Twilight Zone episode where you wake up and everyone else is different, but you're the same.
Yeah.
I think they were all like that. So in any case, here we go. So this episode with Peter Herman, which I think was our second most viewed episode, 488 hits.
It was popular.
Yeah, it was very, very popular. Go Peter. Received 8 comments. I only see 4 of them here. Let me sort.
Well, you have to say, newest first.
Yeah, okay. All right. So this guy isn't coherent. We can skip her. It was the one we wanted to focus on with the biblical. Oh, we can start with this one here. Yeah. Bunch of Zionists.
Super Kassaman. I don't know who that is.
Yeah. Bunch of Zionists talking about the Palestinians with a derogatory tone and smirks. Nonsense podcast. I don't recall dissing the Palestinian people at any point on our podcast.
No, we were talking about the group of protesters at San Diego State that were mad about the president of the university issuing an announcement of solidarity with both the Jewish and Muslim communities.
Yeah. And Students for Justice in Palestine is not the same thing as Palestinians. There are 2 entirely different, obviously related things, but Students for Justice in Palestine is a political movement.
There's a lot of non-Palestinians in SJP.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that goes without saying. And they have no claim to speak on behalf of the Palestinians. I have as much claim as they do to talk about the Palestinians. And even the ones who are in it. I mean, it's political activism. Now, I know the opponent's response to that is, yeah, but what is Zionism? And that's political activism too. And yes, it is to a certain extent, but it's also the claim to a Jewish homeland in our ancestral territory. So
I was never smirking.
No, maybe I was smirking a little bit at times, but that's okay.
Peter Herman kind of has a smile that might look like a smirk. I don't know, but
well, he's from Montreal. I'm not going to say anything about it.
Well.
So yeah, no, it's not exactly the same thing. Students for Justice in Palestine is not like a cultural club on campus to celebrate heritage. It's not the equivalent of Hillel, not by a long shot. Hillel supports Israel, but they're not a Zionist activist organization in any way whatsoever. You do not see the bullying of anti-Zionists on campus the same way that you see the bullying of Zionists, period. Right. Even if you want to allow that Israel is doing bad things to the Palestinians, the response seems to be Palestinians and their supporters on campus doing bad things to Jews on campus, which is utterly unacceptable. All right, so here we get
a bunch of Zionists. Like, so what? I mean, obviously we're Zionists, but when did this become? This term, right, become, some kind of slur?
Well, it goes back. The Protocols of the Elders of Zion, even though it's not about a Jewish state, has Zion in it. So it's been used. And what's interesting is all that anti-Semitic literature. I was just reading Wilhelm Marr the other day, the war between the victory of Judaism over Germandom. And he said the Jews are trying to create a, quote, new Palestine in Europe. And this is 1879, I think, that he was writing. It was 74 or 79. And it just shows you right then and there that the word Palestine was clearly associated with the Jews. It wasn't even that it was a politically neutral term. It was a Jewish term at that point. Because it was so intertwined with the Jewish homeland after the Romans renamed it, which of course was a punishment at first, but eventually it came around to being something that Jews identified with.
All right, who is Ryan Murtha? Who is this?
He's Mr. Biblical here, and I am going to look up this quote because I do want to know where it comes from. I'm sure if he didn't make it up himself. If he did, then he should write books like the Bible because he's pretty good at it. There could always be another sequel. Oh, Voltaire and the Jews. It's pulling up in it's from all these history books. Huh. Okay, well, we don't have to dive into that. But
it's from Voltaire?
It's in a New York Times article, Voltaire and the Jews.
Oh.
See what that article says? You have surpassed all nations. I can't be from Voltaire. Okay. Oh, here it is. Okay. In the next year, writing the essay, One Must Take Sides, introduced. Okay, who's the author they're talking about here? In a book published more than 20 years ago in 1968 entitled The French Enlightenment and the Jews, Arthur Hertzberg, who wrote an amazing book on the Enlightenment and the Jews, a problematic teleological ending where he said the Holocaust was the inevitable outcome of the Enlightenment. But if you're writing in 1968, I can understand why someone would take that position. I argued against this construction. An anti-Semite of the most damaging kind is one who asserts that no matter what Jews might believe, their inherent character is fixed, nasty. I cite dozens of passages from the whole corpus of Voltaire to the very end of his life, more than a decade after he made his brief vow to De Pinto. 2 citations will suffice. Okay, so this is a Voltaire quote, right? You have surpassed all nations in impertinent fables and bad conduct and in barbarism. You deserve to be punished, for this is your destiny. Well, that's pretty wild.
This is an anti-Semitic statement here. I mean,
absolutely. I agree. Voltaire was an anti-Semite. Well, let's be clear about this.
The comment about the comment before this one was not anti-Semitic. It was stupid, but I wouldn't so far.
No, it's stupid and it's woke. That's right. We don't have the right to say that people who don't belong.
This one is anti-Semitic right here.
Yeah. This is no different than, let's say, white people who are trained in the fields of African American history talking about African Americans. It's really the equivalent of that sort of thing. Except these people really don't like Jews. So he's quoting Voltaire. Ooh, the guy knows how to read. And we reply to this one. Thank you for your feedback. Be sure to tell all your friends about us. And that offer is still on the table.
Maybe that Kazaman, that Sammy Kazaman, is one of his friends.
It could very well be. So this guy, I guess, is well read outside of the Bible.
Although Kazaman sounds like a Jewish surname, so maybe this anti-Semite probably.
It could be Kasiman. It might be Muslim.
That could be, yeah.
Casey.
Although Ryan Murtha, some of his best friends are Jewish, so maybe this Kasiman is one of his Jewish friends. I don't know.
Wasn't Casey Kasem's real name Kasif Kasum?
I don't know. He's Druze, though, right?
Yeah, I know that. Okay, but I mean, they're still Arabs, the Druze. I mean, even if they're not, practicing Muslims. So it sounds like it could in theory be a Muslim name. I don't know what the hell it is, but he's obviously no fan of us, and he's not making no claim to be Palestinian himself. All right, Ryan obviously didn't have enough, or this one actually came first. At least he's chronological. He went from the Bible to Voltaire. I'd give him that. A lot of people can't do chronology. And the Lord said unto me, a conspiracy is found among the men of Judah and among the inhabitants of Jerusalem. Jeremiah 11:9. Okay. Well, he's somehow using the Hebrew Bible, which I'm sure for him is the Old Testament, to suggest that the Jews, the people of Judah, who were the Jews, or the ancestors of the Jews at that time, were evildoers, and the Lord was going to punish them. Which, in fact, if you take the Bible literally, is true. The Judeans sinned, and then Jerusalem is destroyed, and the first temple is burned to the ground, and the Babylonian exile takes place. Presumably, that's what's going on here. Jeremiah was written during the time of the exile or immediately afterwards. I certainly don't know the book off by heart, but there is a long chapter in there describing the destruction of Jerusalem. So this is probably it. Now, said author should probably realized that the Lord brought them back from Babylon and reestablished, if not an independent Jewish state, then at the very least an autonomous Judean province within the Holy Land. And even if this guy is a devout Christian, he should also realize that the line of David begat Jesus, and ultimately that suggests that the chosen people did go on to survive and thrive, even if we are going to hell for not having accepted Jesus. Okay, so this passage is an example of the biblical passage being taken completely out of context. Yes, all Israel have transgressed, so you can't speak English, thy law, even by departing, that they might not obey my voice. Therefore, the curse. This is a long one. Jesus Christ. Okay, we don't have to read this whole thing.
There's no Jesus Christ in this.
No, there isn't. But that was just my interjection. We don't have to read this whole thing.
No, we're not going to read through this.
This is what's called selective quoting from the Bible. And as a historian, I will tell you that it is fundamentally wrong. You don't do this, right? The Bible is a contained document that has a historical context like all other books, whether they're books that are theological, genealogical, or historical, and literary, and the Bible is all four of those things. Yeah, but thou hast, the Lord is constantly punishing the Jews in the Bible. Big deal. We all know this. I learned this in elementary school. If you sin, God punishes you. But he has an eternal.
If you have a collection, a supply of passages from the Bible handy for condemning the Jewish people, you're an anti-Semite.
Yeah, and I could easily put together a page this long with quotes with God praising the Jewish people, choosing Abraham from among the nations, choosing Moses to be the liberator, to bring them to the land of milk and honey. I can pull a dozen of these quotes, not word for word, off the top of my head. So it's utterly insane. Even the passage, predicting the coming of the Messiah, which obviously was not referring to Jesus according to the Jews. I mean, that is, redemption for the chosen people. So good job in your biblical class. I will blame you and not your teacher, because I think this person did it deliberately to take his quotes. All right, that's enough of you, Mr. Jan Murtha.
Ryan Murtha, isn't it?
Ryan? Yeah, Ryan Murtha. Maybe I'll respond to him later on from our network accounts. Here I'm logged in as myself, so I won't. I'll throw in some biblical stuff for him just to make him happy. All right, moving on. We have some negative quotes from our more recent podcast with Naya Lecht 2 podcasts ago. And this one's doing quite well for itself. I think it has 200 and something hits. I don't see it listed here how many, probably because I'm in the comment section. But I think we're well over 200 at this point. It was a terrific one. Naya is a brilliant educator and thought leader who has a nice website that just went up, NayaLecht.com.
Is also a co-coordinator for the Jewish Studies Zionist Network.
She is one of our coordinators. And she is, very outspoken in her Zionism, right? She's not just about combating anti-Semitism here. She is a true Israel advocate and believes in educating people properly about Israel. So apparently she was ripe for attack. And I will suggest that there's probably a bit of misogyny in here. People seem to go after women more readily than they do men on the internet. And the left is the one who usually hurls that.
Well, Naya can handle it. Naya can
absolutely, she can handle it. I'm just suggesting that people motivate. And we even have a Russian speaker for the first, I believe.
But none of these are actually against Naya.
That is true. Okay, so maybe they're not targeting her directly. But I do think that a lot of the people who watch this episode in particular, our enemies would have watched it because it's clearly an activist episode. And I think in the title screen, there is a Jewish flag behind her. Let me see.
No, I had my dual loyalty flag taken down.
By the anti-Semites?
Point, yeah.
The anti-Semites took it down?
No, I took it down.
Oh, okay. So they didn't break into your house and take it.
No.
Why did you take it down?
What?
Why did you take it down?
I had some other Zoom meeting, and it wouldn't be appropriate to have anything like that behind me in it.
Oh, you're a closet Zionist. It's not good. All right, so let's take a look at these comments. User-Oblomov. Oblomov is a character from a Russian novel called Oblomov, very famous Russian novel from the mid-19th century. Great book. All the guy does for the first 300, it's like, 600 pages like all Russian books. All he does is sleep. He doesn't get out of bed. He sleeps and he dreams and he comes up with a plan. There's a great passage. He comes up with a plan to reform the peasants, to how to give them their freedom, and he wants to do it as a state. And then he reads the sentence over and it has two witches and two that's in it. And he said, oh God, this sentence sucks. And he gives up. So I feel that way too when I write. It was supposed to be a metaphor for the lethargy of the Russian people as a whole that many intellectuals believe. So why he chose this name, I have no idea. But he is Russian, obviously, or a Russian speaker. So I will, as a Russian speaker, I will read the quote. За страдания евреев мстите палестинцам, question mark, пережив Холокост, вы занимаетесь геноцидом, позор, о котором мир не забудет никогда. Translation. Because of the suffering of the Jews, you are committing atrocities against the Palestinians. What does mstiti exactly mean? Revenging. Oh, you're taking revenge for the Holocaust on the Palestinians, right? That's the point of the quote here. You survived the Holocaust, and now you're committing genocide. What a disgrace. The world will not forget this ever. Okay.
All right. Well, prove it.
Yeah. Okay. Try. That's a pretty exact and pretty direct. All right. Next quote, which someone replies to: "Try not committing genocide." Exactly. Okay. Now, is this directed at us? Are we committing genocide?
I think that they're looking at the title of the episode, how to teaching Jewish youth to love Israel, and so their response is Jewish youth will love Israel if they don't commit genocide. I think that's what the pattern they have in mind.
No, I think they're claiming we're committing genocide because we're Zionists.
Well, yeah, that's implied too, but it's directly responding to the title of the episode. Jewish.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, but it doesn't say try not, teaching people to commit genocide or anything like that. It says try not committing genocide. So I think you're reading too much into it. Indoctrination.
There's no genocide. There is no genocide.
There is no genocide, and you know what?
Even The Hague said there was not genocide.
The bottom line is that most of the people, except for schmendricks like Omer Bartov, who were
he's not a schmendrick, he's a schmagegi.
No, he's also a schmendrick, kind of schmuck.
He's both, but it's worse than schmagegi.
People did comment when they read our award. They said this guy's not a schmagegi; he's far worse than that.
Yeah,
yeah, but the thing is, most people accusing Israel of genocide on Team Palestine were doing it before. I've seen videos of panels being disrupted on campuses like Stanford from 5-6 years ago, with people barging in when there was no war in progress and saying Israel is, committing genocide, and they rhymed it with something. I don't remember what the chant was. And then they all snapped their fingers because that's what the woke do rather than clapping at at key moments. Apparently. Okay, so obviously the genocide charge is looming large, and again, it's not just about...
We have done several episodes of this podcast, proving that there's no genocide taking place and that Israel has never engaged in genocidal activities. So those of you that are commenting that Israel needs to stop committing genocide, and those of you that agree with that sentiment and want to post exactly, I would ask you to watch some of those episodes and you will learn something.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are plenty of people, there's no genocide. It's so absurd at this point, right? I mean, even though the attack on Rafah, they rescued hostages. It sounds like they had a plan in motion here. I would like to point out that Russia, failure of failure states, when there was a massive hostage crisis in one of the Caucasian republics in the North Caucasus, what was it, 15, 20 years ago, maybe? They went in there to try to rescue the hostages. Every single one of them was killed, right? They were Muslim separatists. I assume they were Chechens, but they were not in Chechnya. They were in another neighboring republic. And they had the whole thing set to detonate, and they were murdering, and they killed all the Russians in the process too. The Russians botched their operation so badly. Whereas when Israel goes and rescues hostages, they usually get the job done, right? Without their own people killed.
And considering that, the other side doesn't make it easy to avoid civilians. It's amazing how many civilians are not casualties.
Given that human shields are used, and given that they're building command centers under hospitals, and perhaps even in hospital rooms themselves.
They found them,
So you don't have it's all bullshit. It's all absolute bullshit. I mean, maybe the glory days of rescues like Entebbe are gone. Maybe Israel will never, I mean, Israel used to do stuff that was just remarkable. I mean, anyone who condemns Entebbe or their attack on Iraq's nuclear reactor, I mean, come on.
Who condemns Entebbe?
That's a good question. We should look at
Are there people that I've never heard that. Are there actually people that condemn Israel's actions in Entebbe?
If people would celebrate the massacre of 10/7, why wouldn't they condemn Entebbe?
I don't know, but I've just never heard that before.
Yeah. And what about what's his name? The American who is in a wheelchair that was dumped overboard on the ship. What was his name? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know. I don't know.
Ship. I think it happened in the 70s. I can't remember his name, but he was in America. Klinghoffer. His name was Leon Klinghoffer.
Yeah, Leon.
And I'll quote a relative of mine on this exactly. They said that when they saw that happen, they realized that's it. There's no hope. These people do not care about lives. If they're going to take a disabled American and take this boat, which was not a Zionist boat, hostage, and throw this guy overboard, a Jew in a wheelchair who probably supported Israel, but still, then there is a problem. A very big problem.
You also mentioned the Ozer reactor. Are there people that condemn Israel for that? I mean, that I've not heard of either.
The Iraqi reactor, I guarantee people for sure. Oh, people condemn them over kidnapping.
I mean, Westerners. Yeah, I know there's people condemning the Eichmann kidnapping. Yeah, but I mean Westerners.
Yeah, Argentina was infuriated. They demanded they return Eichmann the next day.
But Argentina now, though, they're moving their embassy to.
Oh, they are? Okay.
Oh yeah, Milai. Didn't you see that footage of Milai at the Western Wall?
Oh, right. I didn't know the embassy was being moved.
He was crying and dancing with the Jews there. He's very pro-Zionist.
So the American embassy is in Jerusalem now. They made the move.
Yeah, the American embassy's there. Yeah, in Jerusalem.
When was it moved exactly? I'm trying to remember in 2019 if I was there. I saw it.
2019, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was there in the summer. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw it. It was in West Jerusalem. It's not even an occupied territory. Like, what the hell? It's absurd. All right. Well, moving on. It's more okay. Indoctrination. Another claim Zionists are themselves guilty of perpetrating while accusing Palestinians of the same. This sounds like the movie that launched our career, right? Israelism. I mean, that's all about the indoctrination of the Jews. And
well, I guess she's trying to say that this is what Naya does.
Yeah, but that's what the movie Israelism said as well, right? The children are being brainwashed to worship Israel.
But if you watch Naya's interview, she's not describing her pedagogy in any way that even mirrors what you see in the Israelism movie.
Absolutely. Right. She's not gonna, deny.
She's not teaching these kids to blindly love Israel.
Yeah.
She's teaching these kids to think critically.
Absolutely. And as a professor,
at the rational conclusion that Israel is a country to love.
Yeah. And as a professor of history, when I teach the Arab-Israeli conflict, I'm not going to deny that Palestinians are living in miserable conditions. What I teach is the process by which that happened. And then they can arrive at their own conclusions of the extent of guilt, which is a term historians shouldn't even be using, but how we arrived at this situation. To what extent were the Palestinians exercising agency that went off in the wrong direction? It didn't work out as they planned. I mean, obviously the Arab states have a great deal to answer to for the Palestinians' current situation, and nobody seems to want to hold them accountable for anything.
When I teach about Israel, I teach good and bad, and I've actually had some criticism from people in the Jewish community when I've spoken at those events, from people that think that I focus too much on some of the bad stuff that Israel has engaged in the past. But you got to be truthful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I remember having to convince a couple of people 5-6 years ago. Maybe my opinions even changed since then. They were going on about how J Street is an evil anti-Semitic organization, and I was saying, no, you're thinking of JVP. J Street. I don't think that their ideas work, and I think they are willing to collaborate with people who should not be collaborated with, and that is a big problem. But they aren't Jewish Voice for Peace. They're all for a two-state solution. I just don't like the approach that they're using to achieve it. That's the problem. So I would never call them anti-Semites. Absolutely not.
What about un-Jews? Would you call them un-Jews?
J Street?
Yeah.
My understanding is that, I think they're kind of irrelevant at this point, but a number of years ago, my understanding is that at the local level, they were far more radical than at the national level. So I would have to actually sit down and talk to someone at J Street. But I will say this, I've written a couple, maybe 2 or 3 op-eds that I've gotten, out of the dozens I've written, that I've gotten a lot of circulation. And one of them I published in the summer of 2018. I called it The Loneliness of the Liberal Zionist. And I was saying how, it's like, it's crazy at this point, to the left and the right and this and that. And I was actually defending Jill Jacobs on it, Rabbi Jill Jacobs, who I would not today. But back then, she was, she posted a defense of Israel and said, I abhor the current government and what they're doing. I'm for a two-state solution. The Jews have a right to self-determination. So she got ripped apart by Stephen Salida, the bus driver, who used to be a professor. So I brought that whole exchange up in the piece that I wrote. And I say, it's utterly absurd that this person, Rabbi Jill Jacobs, is being accused of being some sort of Zionist imperialist, when this person is so damn far to the left and everything, even coming down to Israel, with the exception that Israel has the right to exist. I mean, that's her line in the Senate. We should give them back their territory that we took. We should do this. We could give reparations, blah, blah, blah. Israel has the right to exist. But even that is a problem. So I published that piece, and where I state my own views as a two-stater and this and that and whatever. A J Street representative called me a few days later, wanting me to start canvassing for them. I'm not a political activist, so I flatly refuse to have anything to do with it. So clearly J Street was under the impression that their views align with mine, which I don't think is exactly true. So no, I wouldn't call them un-Jews. I just think that their approach for achieving a vision of two states is just so, off the charts. And being stuck in the middle forces people. I think the middle has disappeared, right? And that part might be true in terms of what that article we just showed is sort of saying. There is no middle. So these aren't non-Zionists, but these are people who are liberal Zionists. I think liberal Zionism is essentially dead at this point. And Zionists or liberal Zionists are being pulled in one of two directions, and that is either into Zionism or anti-Zionism. And I stated my claim that, I am a liberal here in the United States, but when it comes to Israel, I'm a Zionist. I might still be a two-stater, but I'm a Zionist, and I'm not going to use the word liberal.
Yeah, but liberal Zionism means a lot more than just supporting the two-state. It's about
that's what it's come to mean. What it actually means, I don't know. I don't think it means
balance between Israel's Jewish character and its democratic character.
Maybe. I don't know. That's what it might mean to some people, and that's probably what it should have meant at the beginning, right? But I think it's come to mean those people who are still in favor of a two-state today. That's the way people use it. The bottom line is, Zionism is ethnic nationalism, and liberalism in its classic form is not about ethnic nationalism, right? I mean, if liberalism comes out of the French Revolution and the Enlightenment, it's all about civic nationalism. It's all about what the United States is, but slavery notwithstanding, all people are free and equal, pledge loyalty to your state, and you have equal rights. Right? The ethnic nationalism that emerges later on, including Zionism. Zionism came out of the same political environment in Eastern Europe that produced Polish nationalism, Ukrainian nationalism, Bolshevism, Menshevism. It was a very politically illiberal environment, right?
All right, are we still on?
Yeah. I'm sorry. That was my my historical digression, but I hope our fans appreciate it. Anyways, here we go. European Jews persecuted in Europe because they were converts to, okay, this one is the one that's really fucked up. European Jews were persecuted in Europe because they were converts to Semitic culture, the religion of Judaism, at a time when Europe was pushing to be a pure Gentile Christian culture. That part is comprehensible, but what does this first part mean? Converts to a Semitic culture?
Is she one of these people that believe that Jews are not really descended from the ancient Israelites?
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
It sounds like this is the Khazar theory, which for those of you who don't know, is the claim that's very popular still today, even though it's been genetically debunked through DNA studies, that the Khazar Empire that existed on the Volga, that converted to Judaism for God knows what reason, about 1,000 years ago, and then vanished, and nobody really knows what happened to them. That Polish Jewry actually came from them, and their evidence are a few archaeological artifacts they found there that are in the Turkic language the Khazars used.
But there's a number of different conspiracy theories involving this that have nothing to do with the Khazars.
Well, the reason that one was sparked is because of the population boom of Jews in Poland, right? I mean, you look at the medieval and even early modern Ashkenaz communities, we're talking about tens of thousands of people. 1897, there are 5 million Jews living in Poland, Russia, which all of Europe went through a demographic boom after the Industrial Revolution, perhaps even earlier, but the Jews, much greater, it appears, than anyone else. So I'm sure demographers have an answer to this. I certainly don't. But the belief was, well, they must have come from somewhere else, so therefore they were the Khazars. No evidence to back it up whatsoever. But Arthur Kessler, who was a very important Jewish writer, actually wrote a book on the topic called The 13th Tribe, where he makes that claim in the book. He did it with no animosity. It was trying to romanticize this medieval Jewish kingdom. Michael Chabon, who is an anti-Zionist, wrote a novel about it called he wanted to call it Jews with Swords, but his publisher nixed it. I forget. Oh, Gentleman of the Road. That's the name of the book. The book really sucked. I wanted to assign it in class.
Have you read the Yiddish Policeman's Union?
It's a great book. It's a wonderful book. Have you read it?
Not yet, but it's right here because
He's very verbose and he's terrible with endings. I'll tell you that much.
All right.
But that book and The Adventures of Cavalier and Clay about Jews inventing superhero comic books, loosely based on Superman and all that, they have a great line in there when they say, of course, Superman's Jewish. He goes by the name Clark Kent. Only a Jew would come up with the name Clark Kent. So I think I said that.
I've been through this within the Mark Clark interview.
I did, yeah. So Yiddish Policeman's Union is actually great because it can be read as a Zionist novel and it can be read as an anti-Zionist novel. It depends on how you interpret it. Okay. It's actually really good. All right, systematically kicked European Jews out of their countries and finally solved, quote, their Jewish problem by kicking them out completely off the continent. Well, at least he admits we were forced out. I mean, that's a start. America, Uganda, and several other places were scouted as a place to put displaced European refugees until it was decided that Judaism could be Imperial Europe's claim to prime global real estate. Okay, Palestine. Okay. I mean, this is, again, that absurd claim that Zionism is an arm of European imperialism, which I suppose is better than claiming that the Jews controlled Europe, right? Which is usually what the neo-Nazis will say, or the actual Nazis. But this is the funny part, though. Prime global real estate, Palestine. Why is Palestine prime global real estate?
I don't know. I mean, there's not much use to the land.
There's nothing.
Nothing.
Palestine has at most stages in history, the land between the river and the sea has had zero value. There's no natural resources.
Well, now there's natural gas found under it.
Oh, they found that. I mean, that's relatively recent. But it only became relevant in antiquity when the Romans needed it as a land bridge to get into Asia. And in the modern period, completely early modern period onwards, once the Ottomans were in there, completely irrelevant, right? Even though theologically, obviously, it's a key place. I mean, no one's going to deny that part. But for the Ottomans, this was an imperial backwater. The Palestinian Arab population was looked down upon for that very reason, right? Even the other Arabs.
It's great for tourism.
For theological tourism, absolutely. But that's it. That's absolutely it. The Ottomans invested nothing into it. It was really one of the,
And it was deforested for centuries before. That was the whole reason for these, is to replant all the trees that had been missing.
Who deforested the land?
What's that?
Who did the deforesting? When did that happen?
I don't know. You would know more about that than I would.
Of the Ottoman era, what I know is that the Ottomans completely neglected the place. They didn't care about it until Jews suddenly decided they wanted to, go there and build a state. Then, much like the Armenians, they became a problem. Mm-hmm. So, who wanted to be people who wanted to exercise the right to self-determination. So it had no value. It developed value when the Suez Canal was built, and then the British suddenly became interested in the region. So that's pretty late in the game, right? That's really toward the end of the 1800s. Palestine was a land already populated with native Semites, including Aboriginal Hebrews. I thought the Aboriginal Hebrews were the Black Hebrew, Israel, Ethiopian Jews. How many Ethiopian Jews, by the way, DNA evidence suggests they converted to Judaism around the year 1200. I don't think a single one would have been living there at that time. Mm-hmm. When I say a single one, I mean, a notable community. When they talk about the community of Jews who live there, the Ethiopian Jews are not one of them. There were about 4 or 5 notable communities at the time. Arab Jews, Afro-Arabic, Christians and Muslims, Semitic peoples, cultures, languages, and religions, blah, 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 followers of the God of Abraham. Are Ethiopians Semitic?
Well, yes, because they're, I don't know. They're descended from Moses, right?
If you believe the Bible. I don't know about their current language, but certainly Abyssinia and antiquity, the language that they used, which I think was Syriac. Don't quote me on that, but that is a Semitic language, as far as I know. We're persecuted for it by other Europeans. Also, European Jews are still European. Yeah, okay, so that's the other point. We're European colonizers. Zionists and Europeans with no legitimate religious claim to the land, history, no culture. That's absurd. Okay, you want to claim we've lost our legitimate claim because we left for 2,000 years, fine. But no legitimate religious claim? Even if we converted from the Khazars, what the hell? We have a religious claim to the place. It's central to our religion. Jerusalem is at the core of Judaism. There's no way around that. The thousands of years of Hebrew history European Jews claim as their own is not the history, refers to native Hebrews, not Europeans, who converted to Judaism after the death of Jesus. Okay.
Well, why is Jesus in quotation marks?
That's a good question. I mean, if he were a devout Christian, he probably would have put death in quotation marks since there was a resurrection. So I don't know. I have absolutely no idea. And is Jesus Jewish by this guy's own logic?
Is that a guy? I think it's a she, isn't it?
Okay, you're right. Nancy Iaj.
Uh-huh.
She has a photo up.
Right. Okay.
Sia Carter. Okay, that's her name. Thank you, Sia, for your rather verbose.
Looks like she has a podcast.
Well, maybe I'll tune in one day and then leave some negative comments. Okay, well, this is utterly.
Should we invite her onto our podcast to
invite her? Sure,
engage us in a discussion?
You know what? I will post a comment. I will post a comment later saying, "Hey,
yeah." And we'll say so right now to Ms. Carter, you are welcome to come on our podcast. We would love to have you.
We'll do it. We'll do it. Of course, she won't. Just as Sasha the twerp will never come on a podcast. Okay, there's just so much garbage in here. It's all wrong in every respect, factually wrong in every respect, even if the first Zionists were European Jews. And I have written an op-ed on it, explaining why this is not European colonialism, even if the Jews who were first Zionists came out of the Russian Empire, espousing an ideology that developed in Europe. Jewish youth should love Judaism, and they should.
Pat Harvard. Pat Harvard.
Oh, I thought it said Path Harvard. Okay, Path Harvard would mean they're taking a path to anti-Semitism at this point. verum est prius amore. My Latin's a little bit not great, but this obviously
isn't Prius a car?
It is, but I think it means prime in this case.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No definition found. Amore would be love. Maybe this, I'm assuming it's Latin because of the verum est. But that's just verum at truth. Yeah. Vérité in French. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Jewish youth should love Judaism and they should be disgusted and reject the racist genocidal policies of Israel. The horrors of the Shoah is no way to justify our ethnic cleansing the Palestinians. Okay, so this person's Jewish.
In the first place, okay, I'm tired of seeing this. In the first place, no one justifies the horrors of the Shoah or uses the horrors of the Shoah to justify anything.
I will
except for the need for a Jewish nation state to safeguard Jews. Never again. Right, that's the premise. But
yeah, at the same time, though, people, after 10/7 would make comments, about, God, or we're experiencing another Holocaust, and I mean, Jews kind of have a habit of doing that.
It's not a justification. It's letting us know that it's a reminder that we're not safe anywhere, and that there's people in the world that want to kill us. And they want to kill us en masse. They want to commit genocide against us.
I have heard religious Jews say that God allowed the Holocaust to happen so Israel could be created. I have heard that, which is utterly disgusting in every respect.
I think that that's a rare point of view.
There's someone in my family who said.
I've never heard Kahanists even say that.
I don't know. I haven't researched it. All I know is that a cousin, a relatively distant cousin.
Even if that is true. This is not representative.
Absolutely not.
Most Jews and most Israelis.
I would never talk to the guy again. I am never going to talk to the guy, but even though I never see him. The horrors of the Shoah in no way justify ethnic cleansing of Palestinians.
All right, and then in the second place, because that was what I said was the first place. In the second place, there's no ethnic cleansing of Palestinians.
Well, ethnic cleansing is a more elastic term than genocide.
There's no ethnic cleansing, even if there is an elastic premise behind the term.
I don't think there's ethnic cleansing now. I agree with you.
There could be if they're moved out of Gaza.
There was ethnic cleansing
into maybe the Sinai Peninsula, which is supposedly something that's on the table that they are talking about, but it's supposed to be temporary. In the meantime, as the infrastructure in Gaza gets rebuilt, the idea, I guess, is to move them out and then move them back in.
There was ethnic cleansing in 1948. I'm not going to be an idiot.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. The reasons for it are obviously not what Palestinians claim, but the bottom line is there was ethnic cleansing. There's no reason to deny that. It was not genocide. There was no systematic ethnic cleansing. There were no plans to depopulate.
Well, this kind of thing happens in war all the time.
Yeah.
There was never an intent to ethnically cleanse. I mean, what about all of the? There's 2 million of Israel's citizens are Arabs.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of them got to stay there.
Yeah, that's right. So it's not genocide. Genocide would presuppose their complete removal.
It's not ethnic cleansing either because they kept a lot of Arabs there.
Right, but ethnic cleansing doesn't require the entire depopulating of a place that would mean genocide. Ethnic cleansing is what the Quebec government is doing to the Anglophone people too, and they're not killing anybody. I mean, it's a very broad category. It could mean multiple things, and it could mean being done on a local level.
But the word cleanse, it means to clean out.
In Quebec, they are passing language laws to drive the Anglophone population out by making them unemployable, and they've been systematically doing this for decades. Okay,
I know they have their language police that they look like signs have to be in certain.
Yeah, right. They're making it impossible. I mean, fine, if they want to make sure.
How many Anglophones are actually leaving there?
In the 1970s, half the Jewish community left.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fine. I don't want to digress into a different.
All right, taking their land and forcing them to live under apartheid. Let's not get into that. Never again means never again for everyone. I'd like to point out that the exact meaning of never again has never been defined, and it could mean different things for different people. right? I've always interpreted never again to refer to never again shall the Jews experience something like the Holocaust.
Never again does not mean for people that want to kill the Jews.
Yeah, absolutely not. Please do not attempt to indoctrinate us with Euro-Jewish supremacist Hasbara. What a great phrase.
All right, so there's a read more on there. There's more to
okay. Oh God, these people don't shut up. Oh, it's not much. If you will teach genuine Judaism, perhaps we can live in peace. I don't know. I mean, what happened but before the era of Zionism? Weren't we just teaching our children Judaism? Were people treating us peacefully? I mean, one of the reasons Zionism emerged is because we were not being left alone to live in peace, right? I mean,
what does this mean what is it about genuine Judaism? What is genuine Judaism, and how is it any different from how Judaism is being taught or practiced today? What is this person saying genuine Judaism is?
Israelism. Oh no, sorry. The Judaism as practiced today is Israelism, according to this guy. Genuine Judaism would be, would be probably Reform Judaism in their mind in its classic era, which is absurd because there's nothing genuine about
Reform Judaism was fairly Zionist.
Not when it started. No, it was very anti-Zionist.
But it became some of the
1930s.
The leaders of the early Zionist leaders were Reform rabbis like Abba Hillel Silver and others.
Where, in the United States?
In the United States, yeah.
They might have come out of the Reform movement, but the Reform movement's official line, articulated in 1883, was that we are no longer a nation. We are just a religious community, which is in line with what Moses Mendelssohn said, which is in line with what Abraham Geiger said in Germany before the era of Zionism. Our nation is American, and we are not expecting a return from exile to Palestine. It was a statement against Zionism and a statement against traditional Judaism. We're Americans. It's the Enlightenment view of what Judaism is supposed to be. And in America, that sort of made sense.
Well, right? What about people like Rabbi Stephen Weiss?
I mean, he's already, I know about his activities during World War II. I really don't know much about him before that. So I can't say. But the line that, idiots like Shaul Magid always truck out, is they say Martin Buber would not be considered a Zionist today. Judah Magnus would not be considered a Zionist today. Because, they say what Peter Beinart basically says. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I mean, probably not. They would not be considered Zionists today in the same sense. But the point is, at the time, there was no Jewish state yet. And people were thinking about, ways of integrating a return to Palestine.
And regional Arabs would not support that anyway at that time.
Absolutely not. Yeah. I mean, Ahad Ha'am would not be considered a Zionist, according to some, because he was not about statehood.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we have a handful of...
So here's my question then about any of these comments on either this one or the one on Peter Herman's. Do you think that any of these people actually watched the videos?
No.
No, I don't think so. No.
Maybe they watched 2 or 3 minutes and skipped around.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, maybe this guy was watching it while he was busy,
Because if they watched it, they would realize that none of what they're saying responds to anything that was discussed in the discussions.
I'm going to look up this Moses and Aaron line to see if it's from the Golden Calf. I want to see what the hell the story is about this. Exodus 32:21, and Moses said unto Aaron, what did this people do unto thee that thou hast brought so great a sin upon them? And Aaron said, let not the anger of my Lord wax hot. Thou knowest the people that they are set on mischief, for they said unto me, make us gods. Okay, and before, so it's the golden calf. Okay, that's great. So he's taking the golden calf and using it as an example of our collective guilt for the centuries. Though he didn't seem to accuse us of killing Jesus anywhere in here, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, which leads me to believe that this guy's a Jew. Because he could easily just throw in that quote from Matthew about his blood be upon us, and therefore he wins the game there. But, the evangelicals are our friends today, so they wouldn't be doing that. And I don't think the Catholics really care one way or another at this point. And Catholics don't read the Bible anyway. So, yeah.
I wouldn't say that.
They don't read it closely. That's the whole point of why the Reformation happened. They listen to their priests. They listen to smoke.
I understand that.
And someone said that to you when you were giving your talk at UNCW last year.
I don't want to. That opens up a whole other can of worms that we don't want to go.
Okay, I shouldn't say that. Okay, but my friends, I know of the previous, a little bit older than me, who went to Catholic school growing up, so they focused on the catechism. They did not spend the time studying the Bible in the way that evangelical Christians do. Evangelical Christians know their Bible very well, far better than I do.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to take this off screen share. One last look at us in double here. Look at the serious expression on our faces. And I think we covered, well, I don't want to use the term that we covered a lot of ground because we were talking about a collective of idiots for the last hour. But I think this is really interesting that people are coming onto our site and leaving.
And all I can say is keep them coming.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to keep posting this drivel on our comments, go right ahead.
Oh, we missed this guy here on Peter's comment. Anti-Semitism. I haven't watched the video yet, but hey, are they going to cheer for the killing of as many Palestinians as possible under the excuse of quote unquote anti-Semitism? We replied to him too.
Who's they?
RV 706.
Yeah, but are they going to be? Well, I don't understand.
Well, I don't know their gender, so who's he?
No. In the
oh no, that's us.
Are they us gonna do? Oh, okay.
Yeah. He said, I haven't watched the video, but are Jared and Adam and Peter going to be cheering for the killing of as many Palestinians as possible under the excuse of anti-Semitism?
All right, well, watch the video and you will see we did not do that. And
the comment that I left was, thank you for not watching. So
none of our videos have that happen.
Yeah, we have never cheered.
None of us, we don't feel that way. We don't want to cheer for Palestinians being killed.
Absolutely not.
That may be if they are, even in those cases, the senior Hamas officials.
I will cheer for killing them. I'm not going to have a problem with that. And I will quote President Obama himself after the killing of Osama bin Laden. He said, anyone who would think that killing the guy, I'm paraphrasing here, who responsible for 9/11 was morally wrong should really have their head examined. Okay, yeah. So the leftist president we've had in history said that.
I will say Yamek Shemo.
Yamek Shemo. You gotta Yamek Shemo.
But
may their name be blotted out.
Yeah.
Which presupposes them being killed. So yeah. So okay. Well, I think we've done. Again, I don't want to say done justice because these people, got more attention than they deserve. But this is an encouragement for all you haters out there to come and post on our wall. And it's an encouragement for our fans to come and reply to them.
Yes.
We'll even invite all our network members and beyond to come and respond to these people. Give them the responses. Start a fight on our podcast page. We want the attention. We're craving attention.
Yeah.
People out there need to give it to us.
Right. We have no problem at all with these comments.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have a problem with the content of the comments, but
but we don't have any problem with you leaving them. Go right
absolutely. Ahead. Being ignored is far worse than being hated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you really want to get under our skin, post nothing.
Yeah. That's what Sasha the Twerp does. Yeah. One day he's going to blow up, though. I just know it. But did you invite him to come on our show?
I did invite Sasha.
No, I mean recently after our previous discussion. From the previous episode.
No, I invited him that one time.
Oh, well, invite him again. Go onto his wall. You're not blocked. They'll block you a minute and a half later, but
Sasha, you're invited. If you're watching right now.
He's not going to watch this.
Well, okay, probably not. But on the off chance, Sasha, you are welcome at any time to appear on our podcast.
And if you haven't seen the previous episode, it opens up with Sasha and a tweet that he had about the Super Bowl. Sasha had Super Bowl fever, and tune into that one if you haven't seen it. The one on sports, which we are still trying to find the title for. All right, this is Jared and Adam signing off. I think this was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay.
We look forward to more negative comments. Bye.